There is one of the best business books that you can read out on the market now, Liberating the Heroic Spirit of Business, Conscious Capitalism by John Mackey. John Mackey is the co-CEO of Whole Foods Market. He is I guess he would describe himself as a libertarian. He is embraced by the left because, he's got organic food and everything else, and I don't think Whole Foods, isn't Whole Foods, Pat, the one that's like, hey, we don't torture the lobsters? So
yeah, I think
there's a couple of things that drive me nuts, but it's it's one of the best grocery stores. No, come on, really, the lobster.
You want the lobsters tortured?
I don't want the lobsters tortured.
That's your stance. Okay.
I don't eat veal. I don't eat veal because I don't want veal. I don't want things tortured.
We could ask John, but I think the deal was he wasn't sure how comfortable they were when they were transported live or something, so they stopped doing live lobster transport.
All right, but okay, so anyway,
something like that.
But it's one of the best grocery stores. I shop
it's awesome.
It's the best grocery store out there. I love their attitude. I like it a lot, and he is a great businessman. We may disagree on some things, but he has principles, and that's what this book is about. And when you can tell the principles come from Viktor Frankl, you've got something. We've been talking about the golden circle, that the what is not important, the how is not important. What is important in business is the why. That's at the center, and if it's not at the center of your being and the center of your business, you're not going to survive. Said in a different way, this is exactly what this book is about, and I'm thrilled to welcome to the program John Mackey. Hi, John. How are you?
Very well. How are you doing?
I'm really good. I am thrilled to see somebody stand up for capitalism, but a different kind of a capitalism that I think that is what we all want capitalism to be, but too many people are not doing it.
Yes. Capitalism's the greatest creation humanity's ever done for social cooperation. It has lifted humanity out of the dirt. I mean, in statistics we discovered when we were researching the book was 200 years ago, about the time capitalism was first invented or created, 85% of the people alive lived on less than $1 a day. Today that's down to 16%, too high, but it's capitalism that's wiping out poverty across the world. 200 years ago, illiteracy rates were over 90%. Today, they're down to about 14%. 200 years ago, the average lifespan was 30. Today, it's 68 across the world, 78 in the United States, almost 82 in Japan. This is due to business. This is due to capitalism, and it doesn't get credit for it. Most of the time, business is portrayed by its critics, its enemies, as selfish and greedy and exploitative, and yet it's the greatest value creator in the world.
Okay, but there is a, I've been reading a lot of 19th century history, especially around Edison and GE and Tesla and everything else. And there was back then and there is now the greedy capitalist that just doesn't care. And then there's the capitalist that does care, the Westinghouse of the day, that is trying to do the right thing and does want to improve, sees his product as something with value, so sells it with at a proper price, but is trying to create something of real value and holds to his principles. And when that happens, you have happy employees, you have happy customers, and you create value all the way around. However, even in today's world, I mean, look at what the symbol of the person that represents capitalism, at least if you're a conservative, I guess would be Donald Trump. And that doesn't seem like happiness at all. The why is my name is in gold and I've got a whole bunch of money in the end.
Well, business is judged, unfortunately, by its worst actors. And they're greedy doctors, too. And there's plenty of greedy lawyers but they're bad actors in every profession. But business tends to be judged by its very worst practitioners, the Enrons, the WorldComs, the Bernie Madoffs, and they are the ones that capture the media's attention. And then that's extended to all of business. Most business people, though, are ethical and they create value for their customers, for their employees, for their suppliers, for their investors, and for the communities they're part of. Business is fundamentally about voluntary exchange for mutual benefit, and it shouldn't be judged by its worst actors any more than all doctors should be slandered because some doctor misdiagnosed a disease and took out the wrong kidney. That doesn't mean all doctors are incompetent or bad. It just means that there are a few that are, and I think that's the same way in business.
Okay, the name of the book by John Mackey is Conscious Capitalism. Tell me the difference. You talk about it here, but can you sum it up, the difference between what you're talking about and corporate social responsibility?
Well, the biggest difference between corporate social responsibility and conscious capitalism is corporate social responsibility takes the standard sort of profit-centric model of the purpose of business is to maximize profits, and then it grafts onto that sort of what it calls corporate social responsibility, which is usually just a department that reports up through public relations and marketing in an attempt to help the brand image of the company. So it may not be it may just be skin deep. It may not have any authenticity to it. Whereas conscious capitalism starts with the principle of a business having a higher purpose besides just making money and creating value for all of its interdependent stakeholders, which includes the community. So creating value for stakeholders, including the community, is at the essence of the conscious business or the conscious capitalistic company. It's not an add-on. It's not grafted on. It's why the business exists in the first place. So that's the biggest difference.
Okay, I have the Ayn Rand people have a problem with me, and I don't have a problem with the Ayn Rand people, but they have a problem with me because I believe in charity and I believe in doing good, but I don't believe in forcing anybody. I mean, that's why I have a problem with a lot of our tax structure. You're forcing me to do it, and it doesn't change my heart in a good way. It changes my heart in a bad way. I mean, I lived in New York for a while. You eventually end up saying, why isn't the city taking care of this instead of you doing it? But the Ayn Rand philosophy is much more of just that greed is good and just and go make it, and because you want to do it and you want to build something and it only belongs to you. Where I think that if you're doing part of that, if you're following that, you're following your passion, you want to do it, but your passion is also making the world a better place, that's where the real magic happens.
Right. Well, I tend to, on this particular discussion, I happen to side with you on it.
Wait a minute, hang on.
A lot of Rand people don't like me either for a very similar reason. But, I mean, I admire Ayn Rand's novels a great deal.
So do I.
They were wonderful novels, and they had an impact on me, particularly when I was younger. But I think she's fundamentally wrong about, she makes a distinction between it's kind of a straw man, that people are either completely self-interested or they're altruistic. When it seems obvious to me that humans are both. We're both self-interested, but we also care about others. We also have ideals. We also want to do good, and so I don't see that she's fundamentally, I think, wrong. And Glenn, when you consider the fact that the Gallup shows that the overall approval rating of big business in America is down to 19%, that means 81% do not approve it. So I think if you say that it's all about selfishness and greed, then you've basically fallen into you're reinforcing the critics' perspective, and it's harming the overall brand image, you might say, and reputation of business in the world. Business is about creating value for other people in voluntary exchange, and it is the greatest value creator in the world. It's what's making all the difference. But if we're going to let it be portrayed as fundamentally selfish and greedy, we've already lost the argument before we begin it.
I mean, there's no problem with making money. I mean, if you're in the banking or Wall Street industry, you at the end of your days, you can say, I helped create business. I helped lift people out of poverty. But the creation of money in and of itself, money is a tool. It's not a destination. It's a vehicle.
I agree.
And too many people just don't understand that.
I mean, the money is produced through exchange, through voluntary exchange with others. You create value, you create goods and services that other people voluntarily buy because it's in their best interest to do so, and usually have competition for their money and their time and their energy. So if you're producing a profit, it's because, and I mean, I'm not saying there's not crooked businesses out there,
Sure.
but they're rare and not the most common ones. It's because if you've produced money, it's because you've actually created value for others and they've exchanged with you. So your profit is justly earned through the creation of value for other people.
I will tell you this, John, that when I first saw Whole Foods, I didn't go into your store. I think I rolled my eyes when I first saw your because I thought, oh, is this the new marketing thing now? Oh, look at us. And I think that's the problem with business now. People, we've been marketed to our whole life. If you were born, past 1950, you've been marketed to your entire life. And so you can spot a fraud now really pretty fast. And everybody seems to be a fraud. And I think the media and the way we spin stories and everything else tends to make everybody a fraud. But over time, all I had to do was walk into one of your stores and you could feel the difference. And you can tell when a company means it and when it's just a show. And that is extraordinarily difficult to do.
Well, thank you. I do think that the world and people today, you're absolutely right. We have been marketed to, we've been spun to. It's one of the reasons we have people liking most of our politicians, because we don't feel like they seldom tell us the truth. We
Right.
always feel like they're telling us, they're spinning to us, they're deceiving us. We know advertisers do that. There's a strong desire in the world for basic authenticity, for basic integrity and truth-telling. And we want that in our products. We want that in the businesses we trade with. We'd like to have it with our politicians. So I do think Whole Foods is very authentic, and I appreciate you for recognizing that.
How does, for instance, I've got two issues, if you don't mind me, having a private session with you here for a second. I have two issues. One, I refuse to dump my employees into government health care because it stinks, and I don't want to even dump my employees into cheaper health care. I currently pay 100% of the deductible, 100%. They don't put anything in it. We have the best health care money can buy, but it is increasingly becoming more and more difficult for me to do that. And I want to think out of the box. I've told my employees, if it comes down to it, if I can, I'll build my own damn hospital and we'll hire our own doctors, but we have to think out of the box. Do you know of anything on the horizon that you've seen anybody do that is good for healthcare, that is reasonable? Two, how do you move a company and make sure that it stays on that course as it grows? 6 years ago, I had 6 employees. We now have, I think we're approaching 300 employees now. Mm-hmm. And it's extraordinarily difficult, especially in a fast growth business, to hold that culture down. How do you do it?
Well, it's very challenging, and it's good that you're asking these questions. Well, first we'll get back to the culture in a second. I applaud you for your idea about the hospital. It's interesting that Whole Foods is going to do a similar experiment, and that we're going to open up a doctor's office in L.A. that will be free for all of our team members and their dependents.
That's exactly what we're thinking.
And if that works, then we're going to spread it to other cities around the country where we have stores.
May we watch and
Sure.
learn from you?
Yeah, we believe that 80% of what we spend on healthcare in America are for diseases that, like heart disease,
Mm-hmm.
and stroke,
Mm-hmm.
and obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, autoimmune diseases, that really correlate very closely with what people eat and the type of lifestyle we live. So the best way we can cut healthcare costs and help our people to be healthier is to help educate them and teach them how to, we can't force them, we don't want to force them, but we want to help educate them to eat healthier and to have a healthier lifestyle. We think that'll be beneficial to people's health, and will also, of course, cut down on healthcare expenses. So it's a win-win. And we think we need to do that best with doctors. With doctors, people trust and they know, and that we'll tend to all their medical needs while we're trying to educate them. So we're going to do that experiment, and I'm pretty excited about it. We've got our office located, we've hired our doctor, and we'll be getting going on that in the next month or two.
Good for you.
Good luck with your hospital.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll probably start with one doctor in an office first.
But your question was about culture and how do you maintain that culture as you rapidly grow. I think it's important that you create what your own higher purpose is for your organization, and make sure everybody knows that. If you're the entrepreneur, so you may have a vision, but you've got to be able to communicate what that vision is and get other people to understand it and share it. And then you need to consciously begin to create the culture that will reinforce that purpose. Decide the cultural traits the organization needs to have. We write about that in the book. We think things like empowerment and love and care and trying not to manage without fear are very important cultural traits. And so you have to pay attention to that, because if you don't, your culture will get created anyway, and it may not be the way you want it to be in terms of the goals that you want to see your organization achieve. So it's good that you're becoming more conscious about culture. And if you're conscious about it, you can act in ways to help your organization flourish.
John, it's a real pleasure to talk to you, and I applaud you for what your company has done. I applaud you for your stance on capitalism, and I applaud you for your book on trying to awaken more entrepreneurs and more capitalists. Capitalism has to be saved, and the only way to do it is to actually start to highlight those people who are doing it right and showing that it is the greatest system for compassion in the history of the world.
Thank you, Glenn. Interesting statistic that I don't know if your listeners know about it, but of course the United States for the longest time had the highest degree of economic freedom in the world. In as short a period of time ago as the year 2000, we still ranked number 3 in the Economic Freedom Index behind Hong Kong and Singapore. But now, in 2012, we fell down to number 18.
Jeez. And
as our economic freedom declines, so does our prosperity. 7.9% unemployment. And in the last decade, we've actually seen, for the first time in American history, the disposable income per capita actually decline for the first time over a 10-year period. So we're losing our economic freedom, and with it, our prosperity. And I think the first step is for business to begin to defend itself in a more cogent way, and that starts with purpose and stakeholder philosophy, the principles we outline in the book.
John, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
God bless. Conscious Capitalism, a must read by John Mackey, available everywhere, liberating the heroic spirit of business. Finally, somebody with some clout is doing it.